I'm Simon, I'm the co-founder of knowable.org, and to give you a little idea about what we do, I'd like to start off with a little story. Actually, this is Romain, it's a friend of us from Paris, and he had this super cool idea to build a computer that's fully functional out of electronic parts in a water can. The cool thing about him, though, he's not alone. He's actually part of a global movement of makers, something that Chris Anderson calls the new industrial revolution. And that's because makers, crafters, tinkerers, DIY enthusiasts, they now have access to new forms of production, like 3D printers and laser cutters, but they also have access to new forms of resources, like other guys' ideas, and turning literally everything into a resource. Now that's quite promising, and we've seen Etsy and Kickstarter kind of showing the potential of that market. However, there's a big problem, which is collaborating with other makers is a pain. First of all, making is social, but current websites and tools out there are not. All you end up with are comments and likes, basically. That's not really social integration. Making is collaborative, means you actually want to build upon other ideas, but tools and websites out there are not. All you end up with are comments and likes. And making is global. As I said, it's a global phenomenon, and I think today with technology, for the first time we have the chance to actually connect a global community of makers. No one out there is trying to do that. Well, that's going to change. Knowable is the social network for makers. It's a place, first of all, to share practical ideas in form of step-by-step guides, but then you can actually build upon it. You can edit it, add new stuff to it, submit it as a branch. And if that sounds familiar to some of you, that's because it's something like a GitHub for the real world, a GitHub for hardware, basically. That's not just interesting for individual grassroots makers all over the place. It's also interesting for what we've just seen with the hardware startups coming up, providing a powerful system for collaborative design of hardware. Now, this is how it looks like. This is our raw prototype. We have about 800 users by now. We just launched it in fall, and it's already online and running, and you can already take it to your local garage or workshop. It's very deeply integrated to social connectivity, so you can follow other makers, follow their ideas, see what they've been doing, and we actually aim to make this as accessible as possible, cross-platform, even down to WAP. Think about the big global picture there. Now, there's a couple of other guys doing similar stuff in the DIY space, and I'm not going to get into detail here. I'm just saying none of them is even aiming at building something similar that is that much socially and collaboratively connected. Now, that's all nice, but how do we make money? As production and resources get more and more available, what gets more value is actually ideas. And we want to provide an ecosystem for makers to sell their designs and blueprints for product. It's kind of like the next step after Kickstarter, where you start off with a prototype. For Knowable, you can start off with just the design and leave the production to everyone else. So I think this is quite promising because it will mark a new change in how we go about product in general. Just to give you a little idea of what's been happening thus far, we've been joining the beta pitch here in Berlin, and we won that, which was great, because it got us to launch our prototype in fall. And just recently, we joined the Seedcamp program in London, and this was a very big boost for us. And just now, we are looking forward to take the next step, which is, first of all, get the seed round of about 52K to really get this up and running and grow. So yes, investors, VCs, please, we want to talk to you. Secondly, it's a product. So actually, if we were to win this, all the money would just go as a technical speed boost to building the platform. And thirdly, obviously, is generating content and growing the community to actually make it as big as possible. Just on this is who's founding it. It's Emmanuel over there. He's doing the product design and designing the look and feel of the platform. And there's me, the non-coding guy, doing everything else, business, partnerships, and networking. Well, that's it from me. We want to make this very big, and we hope you're in. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Peter, let's start with you.
Well, first of all, thanks, great pitch, and I really like the product. So basically, no real question. Maybe one remark. I'm wondering how you ensure that the quality of the instructions is will be as entertaining and good looking as they are right now. And so I'm afraid if there are many people putting their stuff online. Onto your platform, it might hurt a little bit, maybe the quality of the overall impression. So,
I mean, as with all user-generated content, you will definitely get that problem. We already have it now at the very early stage. So apart from like the user rating system that we obviously put in there, there's a couple of other things. One of them is something like curated pages that, from Kickstarter, for example. We actually want to leave it to our users to set their kind of portfolio of favorite projects and ideas, also go to organizations or magazines. There's like Makeshift is one very, very inspiring example for a great magazine out there. We're already in touch with them, and I think to set up this kind of high-profile list for very cool ideas, even topic-wise, I think that might be a good approach to kind of at least make the high-quality projects more visible than the others.
Thank you. Let's go to Paul Singh next.
Sure. So I think the key with this sort of thing, so I think the order, you had those 3 cards, I think you might want to think about sliding them over. So instead you were thinking about raising money first and then building product. I think you probably want to do it the other way. The big thing here is you're probably going to want to go niche on this really fast. So rather than try to build it for everybody, which is sort of dangerous and likely to, frankly, fail, I think you're better off actually starting off and maybe going after a subculture of like the Arduino guys or the home improvement guys or whatever it is. And just as much as we're not supposed to talk about the pitch, the one thing I would say is like be very careful anytime you say nobody's ever done this before, because at least for VCs and hopefully for most angels, that immediately sets off red flags. But
Have you ever heard that it's actually been true?
I don't think so. I don't think so, yeah. But in any case, I think there is something interesting there. I mean, DIY has its own TV channel, right? I mean, there's certainly something there. But go niche and go niche fast.
So I'm actually pretty excited about this space. I think that you're going to be in a really big space going forward. I mean, like, I see kind of the DIY, hardware hacker, all these guys as like the early days of the internet, and it's going to really blow up. So you're potentially riding a really big wave there, so that gets me excited. Also, I mean, taking GitHub principles and applying them to other stuff in the world, really cool. I mean, it helps to kind of quantify that people actually doing work, right? So you actually know if your developer's doing work, and if you guys could do the exact same thing, that'd be awesome. But yeah, my question is just like, can you actually pull that off? I don't know. I haven't seen a product, I haven't used it. But I think that those 2 trends that you guys are riding could be really good for you guys. So I hope you guys figure it out. I mean, it's pretty cool stuff. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You can take 20 seconds if you'd like to respond. You don't have to.
Yeah, just what you brought up. As for the other, just on a side note, I know that's on the slide. We're already right now getting to the MVP, and it's really in sight. We want to get there by February. So this is kind of joining up with getting to the seed, obviously. And on the other point, I actually absolutely agree. And this is definitely something we want to do, a vertical on really focusing not just on the broad DIY movement out there and leave it to home repair and whatever you have, but really focus on one actually niche and start up with there. And also it's quite valuable user feedback we get from there. As I said, with Arduino guys, for example, they're very early adopters. They know the concept of GitHub, of versioning, and might give us some very valuable information for a first user case, and then grow up from there. So actually there's, as I said, we have this big picture in mind. Just recently joining C Camp, we get some very valuable feedback, and that was actually like focus on what's next and then take it from there. So
Thank you very much. Thank you to Knowable.